Welcome to this video in the Breakfast Bites series. We're coming to you from Bond University, the land of the Kombumerri people. Breakfast Bites is a series where we feature someone who's spoken at our Breakfast Club series on health professional education. Today, we're hearing from Justin Keogh, who's talking about gamification and the potential for using game-based learning to increase engagement. Enjoy.
So why should we use gamification and game-based learning in education for university students? A host of researchers try to investigate this question. If we look at some meta-analyses, one from Bay 2020, which involved 30 interventions and over 3,000 participants, they found a significant medium effect size benefit for improving student academic performance with gamified versus non-gamified approaches. Similar meta-analysis by Clark in 2016 reported a significant small effect size benefit with game-based learning approaches compared to non-game-based. So these benefits and education outcomes have been hypothesized to reflect things such as increased student enthusiasm and motivation, improving their enjoyment, especially when grappling with challenging or maybe boring content, and also providing educators and the students some in-class feedback on their progression and areas where their comprehension might need to be improved. So on the flip side, why might there be reasons that we decide not to use a game-based approach in learning? Ultimately, any sort of approach we use, be it these gamification and game-based learning, it's imperative to critically examine these meta-analyses and individual studies as a host of the factors that could influence the relative benefits of these learning approaches may not necessarily suit your context. So ultimately, how do these approaches align with your subject learning and program learning outcomes? How well are these communicated with your students, etc.? So there's a host of issues there that might need to be worked through. What does quality look like? So to me, and based on, I suppose, the work we've done, it would reflect a host of factors, perhaps some sort of sequence, but also an action research model would need to be incorporated. So in essence, being aware of the literature. What are these benefits? Some of these summaries that I've provided in meta-analyses. Discussing this with other academics as well as Office of Learning teaching colleagues, students, either current students or graduate students, to get their ideas on things that they felt have worked. Then having a clear goal and reason for where these different approaches may actually work. From there, clearly communicating with your students regarding what you perceive these benefits of these approaches to be, as well as their potential limitations that they might need to be aware of. And once you've then implemented these approaches, gaining feedback from different stakeholders, particularly the students, on their benefits and limitations, and then identifying ways to continually improve into the future. So how did I get started? I think probably maybe 4 or so years ago, I was approached by a US colleague to do some stuff in this sort of space in the field of biomechanics. Got Christian Morrow from our faculty involved, who'd done quite a bit of this research already. And the field of biomechanics is a challenging exercise and sports science discipline, which focuses on applying physics principles to the study of human movement. So perhaps due to this challenge, the fact that the students aren't necessarily lovers of maths and physics, and the fact that the small amount of education in our field actually looks at quite a bit of biomechanics was a reason we thought this paper was quite important. And then from there, I joined a community of practice within the university, where I learned a lot more about different types of gamification, game-based learning, what constituted the differences, how it isn't just all technology-based, that we can use a host of just more real-world, simple games. So getting an idea of how these educators use these approaches, and then ultimately actually learning that I'd been using some of these approaches in my own teaching without necessarily calling it gamification or game-based learning.